I want to talk to you today about how pregnancy after loss isn't considered a fresh start. It's just a new chapter. It's a whole new world because it's a whole new baby from the baby that you lost. Imagine yourself, you're standing in the bathroom, you are staring at a pregnancy test. Maybe you're not even quite there yet. Maybe you're just thinking about it. And you're feeling excited and nervous, but it's also mixed with terror and guilt. And you're hoping and wondering if you could carry a baby to be healthy and born alive this time. But then your grief reminds you of what could happen. All of this is happening at once as you are just standing there, either looking at this test or thinking about what might be possible if you were to think about having another baby. And it's just not logical or neat or simple. It's all just really raw and real. And here's what nobody tells you is that trying again after loss doesn't feel like a fresh start. Like, okay, we're just going to do this again. Everything is going to be great this time. I don't know any lost mom who's ever gone into her second pregnancy thinking that way. It feels like more about like you're just turning the page, like that page of that experience is still there. It's always going to be there in that book, but you do get to turn a fresh page in the book because the last chapter ripped your heart out. We're going to talk a lot about the myths that surround pregnancy after loss, like how pregnancy fixes things or helps you get over it. Don't worry, we're going to come back to that. There are a lot of lies about pregnancy after loss. There's a lot of myths and things that people think are true, especially people who've never experienced pregnancy loss or stillbirth loss in any way before. And here's what I want you to hear. Trying again is not betrayal. A new baby is not a replacement. And pregnancy after loss is not a sign that you're healed. I'm moving on. Everything's fine. We're just going to start over because you can't start over once you've experienced a pregnancy loss. There's no starting over. There are no fresh starts. There are only continuations. I thought I would walk through these myths with you. One is that a new pregnancy will heal your grief. The reality is it might bring hope, but it's not going to erase your loss. Both babies matter equally. Another myth is once you're pregnant again, you'll stop thinking and dwelling on the baby that you lost. Here's the reality. You think about them constantly, maybe even more, because you get that comparison and you're wondering all the time, would I even have this baby if that baby I lost had lived? Would this baby be similar? What would my life be like had my first baby lived? Another myth is that getting pregnant again means that you're over it, but you're never over it. You will always think of that baby. You'll always think about how much you love them. And that reality of what happened during your loss experience will always carry into that fear, will carry into every pregnancy you have after that. And another myth is a rainbow baby replaces the one you lost. No one replaces anyone. It's amazing that your heart has the capacity to grow and allow room for as many babies as you want, but it will still never quite take the place of that baby you lost. I remember thinking, I do not want my motherhood journey to end this way with this tragic loss. I knew I wanted another baby. For me, it was about when am I ever going to feel like I'm ready? I ran into someone who I saw periodically. I live in a small town. She didn't know that she knew I was going to have twins. She did not know the outcome of their life. And then there I was pregnant again. I remember her saying to me, "Hey, don't you know what causes that?" Which I know is supposed to be a funny joke, but it was so hurtful because part of me wanted to launch into like, Are you kidding? Why would you ever say that? Why would you ever judge me anyways, even if that was the case, even if I did have 2 infants at home and I was pregnant again, who cares? What do you care? Just the ease that people feel that they get to say things like that to you and how much it stings when you are in the middle of such a grief experience too. I was still really raw. It was still really new and it was still really hard. Even though I was pregnant, I was trying to make sense of it all. I wanted that new baby as much as I wanted the twins that were no longer here. That always stands out for me with my pregnancy after loss. It just felt really invalidating because I can't imagine why someone would say that. I have a course called the Stillbirth Roadmap, and this is something that I talk about a lot in there. I talk all about dealing with other people's comments. I talk about getting yourself ready for pregnancy after loss. This is really near and dear to my heart because it was a huge part of my story too. A lot of things that come up when I'm working with moms is the guilt. It's really the cornerstone of what I do and what I help moms through. I've noticed that it was a huge issue for me. I carried it way too long and it really bled into breakdowns in every area of my life. My marriage, my parenting, my career, everything in my life was affected because I felt so much guilt about my baby loss. I find that a lot of moms do, even though they don't realize it. So this was one thing that comes up all the time when I talk to moms about pregnancy after loss because they feel so guilty. Like they want another baby, but you feel guilty for wanting another baby because what you really wanted was the baby that you lost, but they're not here. What if I have another baby because I want one in my life, but I know it's not replacing? There's so much back and forth guilt. And my big thing that I remember really struggling was feeling disloyal to the babies that I lost if I were to have another baby. And did it mean that I was forgetting them or moving on, connecting with my new baby because I was not really sure she was going to stay either. I didn't want it to feel like I was being disloyal to the babies that I lost if I loved on this baby. And I know now that that is not the truth, but I really believe that a lot of moms feel that way. Here are some other things that I was thinking about. Besides, if I want another baby, does that mean I'm trying to replace the one I lost? Am I being disloyal to my baby by wanting to move on with my life, to move forward, to keep going and keep my dreams of having a big family alive? Am I being disloyal to my baby? What if people think that I didn't love them enough or that I'm trying too soon? A lot of people thought it was too soon for me. And maybe it was. I don't know. I know that I got the okay from my doctor. I knew what I wanted, and that was all that really matters. But what if wanting this means that I didn't grieve the right way? That's also something that I think a lot of moms worry about. They measure themselves according to how other people think they're grieving. There seems to be this unwritten rule that you can only grieve as long as the person was alive. I guess we allow people who've been married 40 years to grieve a long time for the spouse that they lost. But we don't allow moms who've lost a baby that maybe they never even met alive. We don't allow them very much time at all. It needs to be validated. If you're wanting another baby, it does not mean that you're forgetting your baby that you lost. It's that you still have a lot of love to give and you still have dreams for your family. This baby will be a part of your life every day. You're never going to forget them. Your baby taught you just how precious life is. And that's the beauty in parenting after loss is that you never take a minute for granted because you know how painful and how huge that love is. It just keeps going. If the guilt is something that gets to you, I want you to know I hear you. This was a huge part of my story. And I did a lot of work to loosen the guilt. And this is what I help moms with. I have a course called the Stillbirth Roadmap, which walks you through releasing the guilt that so many moms carry in stillbirth loss and baby loss, pregnancy loss, any kind of loss of a child where you don't get to raise them. So if that's something you're interested in, you can check that out. I really know that there is so much judgment. Pregnancy after loss is something that takes a lot of mindset, mind over matter work to get through and feel like you're not going crazy. It takes a lot of coping mechanisms. And these are things I teach to my clients all the time because this is not an easy road. When you want another baby, it's really important to have support and some strategy and tools in your back pocket because you're constantly having to talk to yourself and tell yourself that this baby's different, this pregnancy is different. There is no magical moment when you're going to wake up and feel 100% ready. There's no sign from the universe, although I do believe in that and I look for signs everywhere. But if you wait to feel ready, you might wait forever. Sometimes you just have to do things scared. And this is the work that I do. Then I get to walk with moms during their pregnancy after loss and help them through these times. This is what I like. They have me on speed dial. They're able to call me at any given time and just be like, oh my God, I just had this thought that everything's going to go crazy. And then I get to talk them off the ledge. Every baby is different. If you can just be willing to do it scared, knowing that every pregnancy is different, every baby is different, every outcome is different. What do you do if you really want to have another baby, but your partner doesn't? Or vice versa. Or they're the ones saying, let's try again. And you're like, no, I'm never doing that again. What do you do when you are on such different sides of having another baby? Because grief is very different for everyone. And if you have experienced this, you know that your partner likely grieves way different than you do. And it can cause a lot of resentment, anger, frustration. A lot of couples don't even survive this time. Quite honestly, I think it's up to 26% of couples separate after a baby loss because it's really hard. So, what do you do if one of you is ready and the other one isn't? And how do you cope if one is excited to try again, but one is scared? I have a couple conversation starters here for you that might be helpful. You could say something like, I'm not asking you to be right where I am, but I just want to know where you are and get very clear. I think that is the hard thing. Oftentimes, when you're grieving, you're tired and you don't want to talk. Just talking is hard enough, say nothing about having intense, hard conversations. So then we avoid them, thinking they'll just get better. We'll talk about it a different day. Somehow it'll work itself out. And then it really doesn't. If you can just maybe start the conversation really easy with something like this. Can we talk about what being ready means to each of us? Maybe we've decided we do want another baby. How will you know when you're ready? What does ready actually mean to each of us? I don't think we're using the same definition. Another question is this about timing? Is there something else that needs to happen before you're ready? Sometimes one person needs more time. Sometimes grief makes intimacy feel complicated, painful, and hard, and you just don't want to go there. For most moms I work with, the fear of losing another baby is just too much. It's just not worth it and the risk, and that's fine. That's not wrong. And you don't have to be in sync. Just keep talking, even though it's hard. Everybody has an opinion. So people say the most unbelievable things. I want you to know it happens to everyone. I've never met a lost mom who's ever said, no one's ever said anything rude or insensitive to me. Unfortunately, this is the reality, right? We've all had these people, but you'll get comments like, are you sure you're ready for this? Or don't you think it's too soon? Or aren't you scared it'll happen again? Somebody asked me that too. Of course I'm scared. It's all I can think about. Of course I'm scared. And then this is always a doozy too, like, you're so brave, which really doesn't feel supportive. It feels more like brave, insert the word crazy for brave. It's not supportive. Or at least you knew you could have another one. Thank God you can have another one and just like, no big deal. Just replace that baby with this one. So I want to give you some ideas of things to say back to those kind of comments. You can say things like, we're doing what feels right for us. I appreciate your concern, but this is our decision. Actually, that's not really helpful to hear right now. That one is a good one that you can use in a lot of cases. Or you can just say, honestly, I'm just not discussing this with you. And that's it. It's not rude. You're being polite when you're responding to people's comments in a way that makes them maybe take a minute and think about what it is that they just said. I just want you to hear this. What I want you to get from this more than anything is that you do not owe anyone an explanation. You do not owe anyone your timeline, what your reasoning is, how ready you are, when you might be ready, none of it. You don't owe that to anyone else. This is a personal decision, anyways, always, but especially after loss. I think sometimes people's first question is, do you think you'll try again? Or do you think you'll do this again? I mean, who knows? Some days you can barely get out of bed. It's the last thing on your mind, especially if you're in the middle of trying again. Yes, I would do, this is what I want, but it's not up for debate. It's not theirs to discuss or for you to have to explain it to them. You are not doing any of this for anyone else. So, overall, I just want to wrap up here. I love spending time with you guys and I love to hear your stories. I love that you're here. But pregnancy after loss does not erase anything. It is literally just turning the page to a different chapter. You're leaving that whole chapter there. It's still there. That writing is all over that paper. It's sitting there. Every word of what you just experienced is not going away. It is still written in your book of life, but you're just turning the page and maybe you can add a new page with a new baby. Your baby is still here. Your baby will always be a part of you. And a new pregnancy means nothing about your love for them. You can be terrified and hopeful all at the same time. We are capable of holding so many emotions all at once. And we do it in a lot of areas in our life. It's okay if you're scared and if you're excited. Both are really okay in pregnancy after loss. You can grieve the baby you lost and decide that you're going to grow your family still. It can all happen together, all of this. This is something I talk about in my Stillbirth Roadmap program. I talk a lot about pregnancy after loss, coping with other people and what they say, communication with your partner. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I just want you to know that you are not alone. You are doing the best you can, whether you are thinking about it, whether you're trying, whether you're pregnant, you're scared, you're hopeful, probably all of the above. I have a workshop in my bio. You can find the link to register for my free workshop called Practical Ways of Releasing Guilt and Navigating Grief. I teach my 3-step guilt spiral stopping process that I have created. I will talk to you soon.